Hey, real quick, make sure you subscribe, like, and follow this podcast anywhere you're listening to it. You can leave us a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That kind of stuff really helps us out, so we appreciate it there. You can follow us on Instagram at Gear and Beer Podcast. If you like the music that you hear in this episode, there will be links to my music anywhere that you're checking it out in the show notes as well. So until next time, enjoy the podcast, keep jamming, and we'll see you.
Gear and Beer.
Welcome back to Gear and Beer. Today our guest is Brownbag Johnson. Cheers, man.
Cheers, brother.
Let's well, it went on the mic, but what can you do? Thanks for coming. Thanks for supplying the mic stands and cables. We have never attempted to do a podcast on the road before. We are in my hotel room here in sunny Las Vegas, and where I have been all week, and where Brownbag resides now. Now, you probably can't tell by his accent, but he is originally from Boston.
Gear and beer, brah.
Yeah, so how long have I been knowing you, man? Since like 2005 or 4?
I think, so the first time the barbecue, I think it was the first or second tour that we did, we played with
us in Deep Ellum somewhere.
Yeah, like the Tack Room or something like that. One of those old clubs in Deep Ellum. That must have been 2006, I think.
2006, yeah. Okay.
So it's been a minute, man.
Yeah, that's true. It's here the year 2023, year of our Lord.
Yeah.
2023. So we're coming up on 20 years, bruh.
Crazy, man.
It is pretty crazy.
Time flies.
We just recently been able to kick it with as much as I've been working out here in Vegas. I hope that I feel like I can just hear straight up slap echo from the hotel room. Hopefully I can
big 10-ply panes of glass right there, man.
Yeah, that's all. We're right next to some glass. I'll try to get some footage of out the window to edit in so you can see our lovely view of the. Do you know what this range is called, or what these peaks are called?
That's Mount Charleston out there.
That's Charleston?
Yeah, out towards that way it is. I'm not sure the proper name of the range, but yeah, Mount Charleston's straight ahead out there.
Yeah, that's with the little, you can still kind of see the snow cap right there. Anyway, we went to Valley of Fire yesterday. That was right.
Fucking rippin', dude.
That was rippin', dude. Rippin', raw, and righteous, or what's
raw, rippin', and righteous, brother.
Is that an album title or a track?
Yeah.
His band, your band is. I never talk to the camera. I usually talk to Lyndon, who's not here because he's not on this gig. But so Graveyard BBQ. When did you start that? Because we're about the same age. So when did you start that?
2003.
Okay.
So actually, I recorded the first demos the summer of 2003. And the first show that we did was on the day Johnny Cash died, September 12th, 2003. It's kind of a crazy.
That's my former neighbor.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, 20-year anniversary this year. It's pretty crazy.
That is pretty crazy.
20 fucking years, man.
It's a pretty long time to elapse and seems so short at the same time.
Yeah, dude.
It's pretty weird.
Yeah.
Time is weird. What is it? A construct? Who's to say?
It's a wormhole, bro.
It's a wormhole. Okay, so were you doing bands before that?
Yeah. So previous to that, I was touring in a New York hardcore band.
So what actually, would you describe the barbecue as a hardcore band?
I call it Dirtcore.
That's right, Dirtcore.
Yeah. So it's kind of, so what I do is I play slide, and I kind of marry slide guitar blues and a little twang with hard rock and metal.
Yeah.
And it's kind of this dirty amalgamation of epic riffs and cool shit.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You might even say that it's raw, rippin', and righteous.
That's right.
I'll be sure to include links to all that music. But sorry, go ahead. So before the barbecue.
Yeah. So I was so if we even further backtrack, so I went to Berkeley College of Music in Boston for a few semesters.
When, like, 01 or?
01, yep, September 01, first semester. And that's where I took a slide guitar course there. That's where I learned slide. That's where this whole slide thing developed.
And it kind of like you fell
in love with it, dude.
Right over head.
It was
over
like
heels.
the missing thing to what I needed in my guitar playing.
Yeah, right on.
So that happened. That was a big deal. Just that course, man, set me on a whole trajectory to play slide and kind of form this sound and style that I do. I didn't stick around to finish Berkeley, though. I landed a gig with this New York hardcore band, MOD, Method of Destruction.
Oh, okay.
Which is Billy Milano. He's as far as he's a big deal in the metal world and the hardcore world. Have you ever heard of SOD from back in the day?
I like we've been discussing recently, my brain just deletes certain stuff, and that's probably something that's been deleted.
Yeah, well, so Billy had a band called SOD with Charlie Benante and Scott Ian from Anthrax, and it was like a crossover thrash hardcore thing.
Yeah.
And that band was huge. And then after that, Billy formed MOD, and I auditioned for the gig and got the gig. Dropped out after a few semesters at Berkeley, went on the road with those guys for a year, did a bunch of really cool metal fests, hardcore fests.
How were y'all traveling? Van?
Yeah, just van. Yep.
Van and
shortly
hotels,
after,
presumably.
Yep. Just kind of punk rock DIY approach on the road. And not too long after that is when the barbecue came into existence.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you did that gig for like a year?
Yeah, all of 2004. So I was in school kind of 2001 through 2003. Got the gig around sometime in 2003 there.
Okay.
Hit the road with those guys for a year. Then when I got back, I was like, it was time for the barbecue, man.
So you got back and like that band just done, or you were done with that band?
I was done with it. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on. I probably wasn't too mature enough at the time, to be honest with you, dude. I was like 21 years old.
Sure.
Touring with these legendary dudes that were, probably 35 at the time or whatever. Right. So I was just the kid. I was the puppy in the band, so. But
Cheap
I did
labor.
did learn the ropes in that year for sure, man.
Well,
it was a great time.
Everybody's got to learn somehow, man.
That's right.
That's the truth for sure.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. So you did that. So when did you start playing guitar that made you want to go to Berkeley? Like, what were you a jazz guy? Because that's like a jazz centered, like a lot of music schools are like classical centered, and there's no rock centered. I mean, I guess there is in LA now.
Back then there was a lot more for rock guitar players. But yeah, I mean, it's when you think of Berkeley, it's more jazz.
All the cats that I know from Berkeley, well, that's not true, because I know some Nashville guys that would not consider themselves jazzers.
Yeah, but I kind of went more towards music production and music business stuff, and also to kind of delay from kind of following my family's all like blue collar trades guys, and they were like pushing me to do that. I was like, fuck that, dude. I'm going to fucking Berkeley, and we're gonna kick this journey off here with this. And so it's kind of delaying, going into the real world, so to speak, and starting the musical journey, man.
Yeah, fuck all that. I've definitely had plenty of blue collar trades jobs, roofing, and first of all, don't roof if you're in Texas. It's a terrible job.
Hell no, dude.
I also worked for a tile guy, and my grandfather was an electrician. I used to work for him. Been there, done that. I worked in yard mowing crews and yard mowing crews and all kind of
mowing
crap.
some yards.
Some yards. I don't know why that's so funny to me. You probably have the second strongest accent of anybody that's been on this podcast, with the strongest one being my buddy Martin McDaniel of episode number 44. He is from Opp, Alabama, a territory known as L.A.
Right on.
Lower Alabama, L.A.
You should hear some of my buddies, dude. It's way
sure.
thicker, dude.
I'm sure it can get thicker, but
After a few more beers, it comes more and more out for sure.
well, that happens to me with my country accent.
Yeah.
It's just it is the way I like accents. Sometimes it makes it hard to talk to people on the phone for me because I'm not very good at hearing
I have
words.
to do that
anyway.
shit all the time, dude. I have to like consciously pronounce certain words because they're like, huh? It's like I have to like pronounce everything and break it down.
Oh, excuse me. Well, Berkeley's definitely put out some good guitar players. You can't give them that, if nothing else.
What I relate that time, what I got most out of it without finishing was that slide course. And also there was a music business course that the whole Brownbag Johnson thing was birthed out of.
Oh, okay.
So we had this music business course that we had groups split up into 4 where you had like an artist, you had a marketing person, you had a label owner, and it was each person was supposed to represent a facet of the business. And I created kind of this character as the artist to use as like my final presentation for the music business class.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's kind of a weird story there, but so the slide and that kind of creation of I'm gonna marry slide guitar blues with rock and metal and create kind of this character, and that's kind of just evolved from there, man.
Well, it's definitely a cool sound, and it's definitely like it's your kind of got the market cornered on it a little bit there, so that's certainly cool. And I know we'll talk a little more about you did some sync stuff, and including one very large sync that we'll talk about. So when did you first, I just said, when did you start playing guitar?
So I got my first guitar when I was 6 years old for Christmas, but it was strange because nobody in my family is a musician. I'm the only musician in my family, the only guitar player.
Okay.
So I got this guitar. I don't know who put it in my
like
parents'
church choir
ear.
or something?
What's that?
You got some people in church choir or something?
No, man. I think it might have been one of my oldest sisters. She kind of turned me on to rock she was 10 years older, so she turned me on to like rock at a very young age. So
Gotcha.
she probably put the whisper in my parents' ear to get me a guitar when I was 6. So I didn't even really know what it was, but it wasn't fast forward until 12, 13. That's when I first started really playing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, and then, regularly playing since then. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So it was always this thing that was there from the beginning, and then it was kind of just meant to be in my life. It's part of the journey,
What kind of stuff were you listening to in this formative time of your concept and design?
Of Graveyard BBQ, or
Yeah, just like the whole thing that you got going now.
So it's kind of a man, there's so many components, but early, like Robert Johnson, Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, Mississippi Fred McDowell, that whole Delta blues thing, the whole Delta slide thing. I was listening to a lot of that, and then just, straight up, Pantera, which is, I know it's a big deal for both of us, Dimebag.
Yeah.
And kind of everything in between. So I kind of artistically or creatively, I kind of figured out how to mesh because if you can go through the lineage from Delta blues until to up to today and connect all these dots. A lot of stuff is just blues based, and you can trace it all the way back. So I just kind of found this way to kind of marry both sounds together. So a lot of metal, a lot of rock, the old Delta blues slide, a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
What kind of rig were you using back in the day when we first met? I don't remember what you were playing.
Mesa Boogie dual recto head. Yeah.
Of course, the amp of the moment.
Yeah.
Dual. Oh, you got a dual rec. I got a triple rec. No big deal. I was never a fan.
And then I would pair that up, like in the studio, I'd pair it up with a Marshall JCM 800, kind of tone blend those two in the studio. So you get that big, throttly low end of the Mesa and kind of that bite from the Marshall.
Yeah. I've heard dudes sound great through Mesas. So every time I plug into one, it sounds terrible.
Yeah, they kind of hit and miss like that, man. I've heard a bunch of dual rectos and Mesas that they don't sound. It's kind of a touchy thing. It depends on the head and who's playing it, what you're doing with it. But yeah.
Yeah, I was playing a Crate Blue Voodoo back then.
Actually, Crate was the first guitar amp I ever had. So when I was like 13, I had a 212 Crate, whatever the hell it was.
I don't know if I ever had a Crate. I had a Gorilla. I didn't. And then I had, and I still have, a PV Classic 50.
Nice.
For a minute, I had two of them that I slaved together and just super loud. But then I was playing that Crate Blue Voodoo, the 120 watt, the ones where they were still like blue.
I remember those.
Not the black ones. The black ones that came after were pretty cool and sounded decent too for that overdrive-y thing. But I'm so far away from that. I still have a Marshall at the house, but I only use it pretty much in the studio, dimed out for a certain sound. It's usable for like a versatile pedal platform too. I put a 12AU in one of the, just bring the overall gain down in V1, and that works pretty well. And I like that through a 112, no less. 50 watt Marshall through a warehouse WGS Retro 30, which is like their 75 watt version of a greenback, basically.
Yeah. That's cool.
Freaking good sounding speaker. Anyway, I digress. So you were playing a rec, and did you use a bunch of different tunings?
Yeah. So that's actually that is one huge component that kind of ties learning the slide, the whole how I kind of married all this stuff together.
Yeah.
So I play like open G and open D depending on what song. It's all open slide tunings. So it kind of freed me up to where you're playing boxed in slide licks. I play the slide on my pinky. I got these first three available to still chug, still shred, still do chordings and everything. And
I can't play with a slide on my pinky.
Oh yeah,
I have to do it on my ring finger.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a little weighted slide or a lighter slide. It's kind of delicate, But yeah, I kind of just, once I started experimenting, man, and playing in the alternate tuning, and I'd be playing old country blues licks, and it just, I don't know, something connected to where I could do heavier riffs and incorporate the whole Delta blues thing.
Yeah.
And then I kind of evolved that, and I'd start twanging in some licks, and just kind of evolving the whole sound over time. But it was kind of, that was the baby of it, pretty much. Another thing too is, you're probably gonna laugh at this, man.
I will,
but
if it's funny.
That movie Crossroads, dude, with Ralph Macchio, that was a big fucking deal for me, man.
I don't believe I've ever seen that.
Oh, you got to see it, dude. It's classic.
Everybody references it, or I've heard it referenced numerous times.
It's so
like
cool,
Steve
dude.
Vai is the devil or something.
Well, he's the devil's
guitar player.
Yeah. And Ralph, so he's like the metal guy, dude. He's the shred guy, and then Ralph Macchio is the slide guitar, the blues. So it's kind of in this weird way. It's like, what if you took those two things and kind of meshed it together, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean that was that in itself. You kind of draw inspiration from a lot of not just music. I mean, it just comes in so many different movies, art forms, whatever,
Right.
and pull little things in, and yeah, start crafting your whole creative thing, you know.
So then, do you ever play in regular tuning?
I do, yeah, but it's so like the barbecue is 100% alternate tuning.
Oh,
Like
okay.
every barbecue song is in one or two of the tunings.
Yeah.
And some of them are like there might be slide going on like 90% of the time in the song, and some it's just for a few little tiny licks. But the slide never leads the finger, and the tunings are always the open slide tunings.
Okay, that's interesting.
But if I'm playing other stuff, yeah, I'm just playing standard tuning or, you know, whatever the gig calls for or whatever I'm doing.
I've never spent any time really with alternate tunings for slide, with the exception of tuning the E's down to D.
Yeah.
But
And that's where that heavy that's where I started connecting the dots, because you're drop tuning, right?
Yeah.
So you're drop tuning. That's naturally you're getting chunkier, bigger, heavier riffs, but you're doing that with those slide tunings. So you're freeing up all this slide stuff and you're drop tune. So it's kind of it just makes sense to put those two things together for me, anyways.
So then, on those guitars, do you have what you would refer to as higher action?
Yep.
And
And
probably
that,
heavier gauge strings too?
I play like usually 10 to 52s.
Okay, it's not too much heavier.
Yeah, because when it gets too heavier, man, it is hard to get vibrato and really bend the strings when the action's elevated, man.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you're fucking wrestling a goddamn alligator or something, man. It's not easy to
Do you
play.
know who Josh Smith is?
I don't. Oh,
He is a freak show of a guitar player, and he plays 13s, and it sounds like they're 8s.
that's crazy, dude.
It's
I wish
stupid.
I could do that.
Why? I don't even like. Yeah, it sounds a little bit better, but you could make an argument that there's like more punch to the timbre of the instrument like that way, but
It's delicate, man. Like
it seems like trouble for trouble's sake.
I can notice instantly, just between just raising or, you know, putting the action a slight bit, or even going a half step up or a half step down.
Sure.
You get a certain when it's just right. There's a sizzle, man. It's like effortless to play.
Yeah.
But you make one tiny slight adjustment in the string gauge or the action, or it kind of throws everything off for sure.
A well set up instrument is certainly important, and
Oh, it's key, man.
all of mine are in dire need of everything. I need to get frets on that Strat. This one's okay, but I need some strings. I play with higher action than a lot of people do too, and maybe I'm dumb for that, but I like it better.
Yeah, there's something to having that extra little girth and to slam down on things. It cuts through the mix a lot better. It feels. I feel like when the action's too low or something, it just feels like
Well,
you're
just
not
can't get any
pushing
resonance. You can't.
That's what it is. Yeah.
It's choked off in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Now, we say that, but then you got guys like Billy Gibbons who has super low action and plays really light gauge strings.
Eights.
And
Yeah.
hard to argue it.
But he also
The tone that he's able
he
to
also
get.
plays very delicate. Like if you watch his
Yeah.
pick and hand, he's not really digging in, at least from my viewpoint. Like he's
I believe
very,
they call that technique.
Yeah, but he's like super light on the touch.
A lot of guys are they're able to be light while looking like they are not being light, and
Yeah.
there's something to that. And I have forever been like, I'm gonna choke the music out of this guitar or beat it out of it kind of a guy.
Yeah.
I've been really trying to work on that technique lately. As much as I'm playing, it just enables me to play with so much more facility if I play lighter. So that's kind of what I've been focusing on doing lately. What we're talking
Another
about?
thing too with the going back to the action too is
Yeah.
for me, because I'm combining. I'm not just doing high action slide guitar blues. I also need to move my fucking fingers fast. I need to, these guys need to be freed up. So the higher the action, the harder it is to get that shred and
That's true.
that fast stuff going. So you got to find that perfect balance between the slide resonating, sustaining, and getting the fingers moving fast.
What slide do you typically use?
I don't have anything specific really. I got a couple metal Dunlop metal slides. I have a graphite composite slide that I use.
Like chrome or brass?
It's kind of chrome.
Okay.
Yeah. And then depending, like with acoustic, I have some glass slides. So it just depends on the application.
I've been using these like it's over there, but really cheap, thin glass Dunlop slides. I love them.
Yeah, man.
I love them.
Dude, I've done gigs where I was rocking out so much, I'm sweating my ass off that the fucking slide would go flying off my finger, and I'd like, where the fuck did the slide go? And wait to get to the next song. I have a beer. I need the slide, and I can't. The fucking slide's nowhere to be found. Smash the fucking beer bottle and use the actual bottleneck, like a real bottleneck. I had to do that a few times.
Cut yourself up?
It was jagged on the top, but no, I never cut myself.
I've definitely used like a beer bottle. Or Tom, who I'm going to do the podcast with tomorrow, he'll use his harmonica as a slide.
No shit.
Yeah, it's freaking awesome,
man.
too, dude.
I've used all sorts of crazy. I've used a cigarette lighter, dude. I taped
Use what you got available sometimes.
Yeah, literally. I've used a Bic lighter and taped it around my pinky and used that. Not for, for jamming and stuff. Not for like...
For shits and gigs.
For shits and gigs, man. But yeah, you can use pretty much anything, dude. If you use the fucking microphone stand...
Yeah, I've seen people do that. That's also that's a cool like showmanship trick thing. You guys just drink your beer at the same time.
Oh, nice.
We have an episode of Gear and Beer on the TV here in the hotel room.
Gear and beer.
So let's talk about the Guitar Hero thing. So you had a song on there, Cheat on the Church, and it was like one of the songs that you had to unlock or whatever, right? Tell me the story of how that all came about.
Pretty crazy, man. Let's see. So the original singer, the guy Bricks, who sang on Cheat on the Church, he used to go to this. There used to be a Boston music scene message board website where all the bands would, you go. It was like a community forum.
Yeah, it was like the bulletin board at the whatever, except for it's online.
Exactly, yeah. So he used to go on there all the time. One day, there's a post from the company that made the game, Harmonix, which was a Cambridge, Mass-based company.
Oh, okay.
So they were already based in the area.
Is it like wedged in there? I can't get it out.
Motherfucker. Double fist that shit, bro.
Just to get it out of there, they were absolutely slammed in there. All right, I'm sorry.
So Bricks goes on one day, sees Harmonix post
Hang on.
Oh yeah, gotta get that crack in there, fresh crack.
Bricks is on there.
Yep. Sees Harmonix post this
Jimmy
contest thing. Jimmy Keats. Sees this ad for a contest. It's called the Be a Guitar Hero contest, right? So it's submit an MP3 of whatever song you want to submit and get it on the game. It was a big national contest, so it was being plugged everywhere, and that's how we heard about it. And it was right around that same time I was finishing recording our first album, So there was like the timing was like
Volume 1.
Greatest Hits Volume 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like perfect time. I was finishing the album. This contest, we get word of this contest. Actually, the first song I sent wasn't Cheat on the Church. It was called Barbecue Nation. So I was thinking that would
I definitely had that record. I don't remember that song by title.
Yeah. So I sent that, and then a few weeks later, I got an email from Harmonix, and they're like, "Hey, we went on. This is the MySpace days, dude.
Oh hell yeah!
They're like, we listened to Barbecue Nation, but then we thought you have a really unique sound, so then we went on your MySpace and we listened to some more stuff. And they're like, we're not saying, like, you know, in kind of quotations, we're not saying you're gonna get this, but if you submit Cheat on the Church, you're gonna have a much better shot at winning this contest. So we give them the green light. We sent them over Cheat on the Church. Maybe a few days later, dude, they're like, you guys won the contest.
That's pretty dope.
Dude, like, at the time, nobody knew what this game was going to turn into.
Sure.
This is a brand new...
It hadn't come out yet,
Hadn't
right?
even come out. Yeah. It was a brand new game. The whole Guitar Hero phenomenon thing hadn't...
It certainly was a phenomenon.
Yeah. Hadn't happened. So, but we knew it was going to be a big deal. We could see what this thing was going to be. And fucking just a godsend, dude, of an opportunity. Was great. So we got the song in the game. It's the first unlockable song in the game. So as soon as you're playing the game, you master certain shit, you get all these points in the game. The first song that you can unlock in the unlockables is Cheat on the Church.
Is your song.
Yeah. And that, dude, from that, I mean, you got to think how crazy that game took off, like, around the world, man. So we had the song on iTunes, and there was maybe 30,000 digital downloads of that song in the matter of a year and a half. And that it was so much exposure, man. It allowed us, it was like a vehicle for us to DIY ourselves across and do all these U.S. tours and stuff.
So let me ask you, I'm not going to ask like dollar amounts or anything, but were you protected in any of those deals? Did you, or did you get like the typical swindling that young people get?
I hate to talk in a negative way about anything, but it was kind of I wouldn't say it was a swindle. We did have to sign, we had a rights thing that we had to sign.
Sure.
So we weren't entitled to any royalties from the game itself. However, the exposure, like the flip side of the coin, is the exposure that we got from the game. Independently, we built our fan base, and people then found us and bought our downloads directly from us.
Was there any compensation at all for the track from the game?
No. So the only compensation was the iTunes, the digital downloads, the physical CD sales, the merch sales. I mean, it was a good jumping point there, man.
That is marketing, my friend.
That's why you get that book down there, brother.
I'm just trying to understand more stuff about being an independent artist and podcaster, and
let me tell you the difference.
Marketing's part of it.
I'll tell you the difference between what happened with us and what happened the second go around. So when they released Guitar Hero 2, now the game was a phenomenon at this point. They did the same contest, Be a Guitar Hero contest. There was a band, I think, out of Chicago. Don't remember the name, but they won. The winner of that got a $25,000 shopping spree at Guitar Center, an opening slot at the Motley Crue tour, summer tour, and a bunch of these really cool perks. So we were kind of like the guinea pigs of the whole fucking thing, dude.
Yeah, they basically used you as a step. That's
it was a good step.
So
though,
fucking
man.
common. I wish that it was not.
Yeah, I know it's shitty, but
it is really shitty. I mean, it honestly is shitty. Shame on you people taking advantage of other people's artistic output,
right,
and using your marketing prowess to literally cheat on the church.
Cheat on the church. We got cheated on, dude.
You did.
Yeah,
you fucking did, man.
Yeah.
But so did you guys go through like CD Baby or something to distribute all that stuff?
Yeah. so I was kind of.
You learned something from that music business class at Berkeley, apparently.
Yeah, everything I had to learn, I was learning on the fly. Like nobody was telling me how to do this, how to do that, how to book shit, how to get on CD Baby, digital distro. You know, I was doing everything, man. I was like learning as I was going. And
I know that all too well.
Yeah, that's what you got to do, man. But yeah, I mean, that was just a whirlwind of learning and doing and taking action and fucking going for it.
Yeah.
You know, it was a really cool thing.
It's certainly interesting. So you guys were able to tour for several years just on the notoriety from the game?
I wouldn't say several years, but still to this day, dude, like recently I'll get DMs and Instagram or wherever and people being like, dude, we played Cheat on the Church back in the day. Like, what's the latest shit that's out now? Where can I get some merch? Like, we still have people from fucking 2005, 2006, still to this day, saying they found us on Spotify and didn't realize that we're on Guitar Hero and they remember playing that song. And
interesting. So
it's like sustained this really cool exposure thing.
How long have you had your stuff on Spotify?
Since Spotify took off, so it's part of CD Baby digital distro. So
sure,
but I've been with CD Baby since maybe 2005 or 6.
Okay, wow, you're an early adopter of the game.
Yeah,
that's like pretty much when that company started to exist, right?
Yeah. Right at the beginning.
Well, they used to print CDs and stuff too, right?
Yeah,
they were like
I think they still do it, but nobody's really buying.
I don't even have a way to listen to a CD.
Yeah, I still I actually, just yesterday, man, I had somebody hit me up for physical copies. So, and that's an example of that right there,
That's
dude.
Weird.
And what's weird is the guy brought up a story from that first or second tour where we met. We played out in LA at the Whiskey, and the guy's like, hey, do you remember me? I saw you guys at the Whiskey in fucking 2006. I'm like,
oh, yeah, I remember that guy 17 years ago. Whatever.
Yeah, but he was asking for CDs, man. So it's just been this really cool thing that's sustained over time here.
You know, so many people are upset about the way the music business is trending, but I feel like I'm interested in, you know, garnering more money per stream for songwriters. Artists is a different thing, I think, a little bit, because that usually just ends up being money in a pocket of a record label. So certain performance royalty stuff, and the whole royalty game is something that I am weekly trying to understand, and it's very dense.
It's bad, man.
It's on purpose, but I am not disheartened. I just signed up for MLC today to collect all my mechanicals.
There you go.
All 7 of them or whatever it is, but you know, by God, if I've got 48 cents out there, I want it.
Give me my 48 cents, motherfucker.
Yeah, bro. I can buy literally nothing with that, but I still want it. I'll put it with
yours.
I'll put it with the
You
other
earned
48
that 48 cents.
I'll put it with the, $36 I've earned streaming my instrumental music. You can find the links to that below, as well as the links to the barbecue stuff. I'll definitely, the barbecue stuff. I'll definitely have links to all that stuff in there. So what kind of time? It's going to be a fairly short episode today because I got to split, go to the gig. So let's.
You know what I was going to say real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Kind of put a topper on your music business thing. It's strange how nowadays, man, like we have so many different platforms for exposure, and it's like, and you can be DIY and you can do all these great things by yourself.
You can.
Yeah. But the flip side is that you got to have niche. You got to be really creative and really hustling to do whatever you're doing. And it's, there's so much oversaturation. It's like a lot of things are now out of the gatekeeper's hands. It's back in the artist's hand, but now it's like the artist has to now figure out ways to do it themselves.
Yeah, but you had to hustle before. You just had to hustle doing different stuff.
But at least now you're somewhat more in control of
100%.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, having to work hard to get it to work is not new. That hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Having to have a good product, good songs, that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Good is obviously subjective. Songs that connect with people that people are going to enjoy. Some may call it terrible. Some will call it the best that they've ever heard. It's obviously subjective to say what is or is not good. But I think it's difficult to argue with a quality production, even if you don't like the music, and that's part of it too. So before we move to the questions, you work with a couple of like sync placement agencies and stuff. Are you just using barbecue stuff on that, or have you made other stuff?
Just barbecue, but some of it's instrumental stuff. So I'll like, for instance, I'll have a track like a barbecue full track, full band, vocals, everything. But if I feel like the music has a certain vibe to it, I'll create an alternative mix track and just an instrumental.
Well, that's like that. That's pretty common, and I almost use the word basic, but that sounds reductive, and I don't mean that. That's like what you're expected to have. Like if you're serious about sync placement, when people go to look at your library or whatever, a lot of the times it'll be with vocal, without vocal, short edit, loudness mix, and there'll be like multiple mixes of the same song just for whatever that particular music supervisor is looking for or whatever. And so that's good. And you ought to have instrumental mixes of all the songs available.
I pretty much do for the most part. The thing with the barbecue songs though is I like the barbecue is I like it. My sound and style it's still barbecue. But I like one song can be just tricone resonator slide guitar by itself, and then another song can be balls to the fucking wall like thrashy slide.
Yeah.
So it's two completely different vibes, but it still falls under the umbrella of what I do with that. Yeah. So it can kind of be placed in a lot of different things.
I think that's a really interesting path to success as an artist, and so many artists do the sync thing and like they don't play live. They just work in the studio and they have relationships with music libraries and sync licensing agencies, and that's all they want. But I think that with success in sync, depending on the relevancy of where you're getting synced, like you could use that to fuel live shows and sell merch, and I think there's a lot more out there for artists that have found some success doing that kind of thing. When's the last time barbecue played?
With the older lineup, like with
any lineup,
church,
because the barbecue is you. Let's be real. It's you. So when the last time did you play a show billed as Graveyard
I did a one-off
barbecue?
gig last November. It was a buddy of mine. It was a benefit show for his dad. So we did a one-off out in Vegas for that. Previous to that, it had been
you did it here?
Yeah.
Did you fly guys in, or did you have guys here?
Local guys, yeah.
Okay. How did you find them?
So the drummer when I lived in Austin, we linked up. We used to play together in Austin. When I got out here, he moved to Michigan. He had to come back for his dad's stuff. But we had already done barbecue shows in Austin, and he's originally from here.
So that's another thing I want to at least touch on real quick. You've lived in did you ever live in New York City?
No, but I've played a lot of shows in New York
and you
City.
lived close enough to New York City that like you've lived in Austin and you lived in LA and now you live in Vegas.
Yeah.
You're missing Nashville.
I know.
And
that might be the
NYC.
next one on the stop, dude.
Well,
you know what I'm doing? I'm kind of doing the whole. I'm making my way back. I'm doing the whole swing right now, man. But I don't think I'm leaving here anytime soon.
Well, how long were you in Austin? Like 5 years?
No, it was only a year and a half.
Oh,
so I
okay.
moved there in 2010, or it was 2 years. So 2010 to 2012. Then moved to LA. I lived in LA for 6 years, and then LA to here. I've kind of just been going where.
You've been here for 5 years now?
5 years, dude. Yeah, in Hentucky.
Kentucky.
Yeah.
By God.
But yeah, I've been going where my musical journey has taken me, where opportunities are, where I feel the right vibe for who I am and what I'm trying to do, what I do.
What were you doing mostly in LA?
Well, a lot of the recordings, I released 4 albums with a guy named Chris Collier.
Okay.
He's a badass recording engineer. He actually lives out here now, but he's assistant engineer on the last Korn album. He works with like legacy rock guys like David Coverdale, White Snake, George Lynch, Fear Factory, Prong. He's recording all these
Prong.
Yeah, dude, old school.
Step your finger, step your neck.
But yeah, that was so when I first got out there, I linked up with Chris, and a lot of my LA time wasn't so much. I did do gigging, but it was more in the studio, recording, releasing. I did 4 EPs in my time there.
I just drank at the same time as myself on the TV.
There you go.
I thought it was a mirror for a second. So on this podcast, we do some rapid fire questions because somebody once told us that we should, so now we do. And for the most, there's some. It's mostly like either or, but there's some short answer questions. But you're welcome to elaborate on any of your choices. But I want every answer to be off the top of your head.
All right.
Okay, that's going to be more important to the short answer questions, as you'll probably find out, and I will probably reiterate. And the first question, Mr. Bag, sir, is as always, Metallica or Megadeth?
Man, that's a tough question, dude.
Well, it doesn't get any easier.
For the impact that was left of me, Metallica. Nowadays, I kind of lean more towards Megadeth, but I got to give the edge to Metallica, man.
Totally understand that. Miles or Coltrane?
To be honest, dude, I obviously know who both of those guys are. I haven't done too much deep diving, but I'm going to say Coltrane, man.
Okay, that's a great answer. Metheny or Schofield?
Metheny.
Not the answer that I thought you would give, but a good answer nonetheless. And I bet I know the answer to this one, but David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar?
David Lee Roth, brother.
I thought so.
All the fucking way.
Steve Vai or Joe Satriani?
Steve Vai.
Correct answer. There's a right answer to that question. Dolly or Reba?
Dolly.
Also probably the right answer. Yngwie or James Burton?
Oh, man. Yngwie, because he's got that Viking fucking DNA running. I don't know, man. I got a little Swede in me, so I'm going to stick with Yngwie.
Well, enough about your sexual indiscretions. John Petrucci or Paul Gilbert?
Oof. I would say Petrucci, but Gilbert's he's a fucking shred master, man.
He really is. This question hilarious to me every time. Probably nobody else, but it's a typo. But the question is Geddy Lee or Geddy Lee?
Fucking Geddy Lee,
That's
bro.
literally what it says. And that's the correct answer, by the way.
Dude, I fucking love Rush, man.
I do too. I'm a huge Rush fan. And the biggest poster in my home studio is them both playing double-necked instruments with 2 kick drums. It's a freaking, from like a Farewell to Kings era. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, dude.
It's awesome. Anyway, I digress.
Real quick
Yes.
on that. Let me chime in quick.
Chime right in.
The guitar solo on Limelight is top 3 guitar solos of all time for me. There's something about that, the feel, it gives me goosebumps every time. I can listen to that fucking solo like 1,000 times in a row.
Totally get that. 2 most underrated guitar players on the face of planet Earth, Alex Lifeson, Dean DeLeo.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
Jazz or metal?
Metal, dude.
We got. I mean, fair enough. Hot or cold?
Hot.
Wrong.
It's too hot to get excited, bro.
That's wrong. Live or session?
Oh, that's a tough one, dude. They both offer.
You have to pick.
Oh man. Poof. That's literally split down the middle for me. But,
I mean,
but I'll go with live, just because live you can't beat live.
Single coil or humbucker? Humbucker. Do you use a volume pedal or a volume knob when you play?
A little bit. When I'm doing toning it down to kind of do more slide stuff, I'll throw on like the neck, slightly turn it down. So I'll play with it a tiny bit, but it's not like a major part of my technique, you know.
Okay. So and no volume pedal either?
No, in the studio, like I'll do stuff where there's a volume swells,
yeah.
But yeah, not live.
Fair enough. Do you use compression? Do you have compression on your board?
Yeah.
What do you use?
I got for guitar playing, or
Yeah.
I got a Dynacomp that I use for certain slide stuff, like clean slide stuff.
Jazz or precision?
Jazz or precision? Jazz.
I think that's the right answer too. In Nashville, everybody always picks P-bass, but
oh, duh. Yeah, it was going to be jazz anyways. I have a jazz bass.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I wasn't catching on to that question right off the bat.
Okay, well, that's fine. You're from Boston. We'll let it slide. From freaking Waltham. What just happened? What's your favorite pedal? I'm gonna have to pick this up. We're running.
I'm gonna say I have a Rocktron talk box. I fucking love using the talk box, but it's kind of a pain in the ass to use it live sometimes, depending on what the situation is.
Yeah,
it's more for studio, but for swagging out and throwing some nutsack on the riffs, I love the octave pedal, dude.
You do what you want with your nutsack, sir. What's your favorite artist or band to listen to?
That's an impossible question, man.
By the way, you only barely even had one beer.
Yeah, no, I know. I got to catch up with you.
I'm on number 3, and I have to go play 2 gigs.
I'll catch up with you in a little bit then. Shit.
That's not my typical behavior, and I will be fine.
Fuck, dude. It depends on the genre.
Pick somebody.
You know? I'm going to say Pantera, man.
That's a great choice. What's your favorite thing to do outside of music?
I like doing, recently I kind of fucked my thumb up playing hockey. I joined this fucking beer league hockey team out here.
Yeah, you did.
Right, so that's fun for me. I like doing there's a lot of really cool hiking, bike trails and shit out in Vegas here. So I like doing, hiking, jogging, walking, all that shit, outdoorsy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And real quick.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, dude, I don't know if you even knew this, but I've the past 2 years I've done 4 fucking marathons, man. I did 1 full marathon the first time, and I was like, fuck this, I'm never doing 26 miles again. Then the last 3 have done half marathons on the strip here.
That's crazy.
It's kind of a cool thing.
We're running short on time before the camera cuts off and before I have to jump up out of here. So real quick, off the top of your head, you give me a different answer tomorrow. I want 3 desert island records.
fuck.
Got to
Yeah.
come up with them.
The first Black Sabbath album, self-titled. Let's go. Oh fuck, dude. Let's go. Great Southern Trendkill, Pantera, and let's go. What's something?
That is a heavy record.
Yeah. Oh shit, dude.
Down.
That's so tough. Thin Lizzy, Black Rose.
Okay, that's good. That's cool. And finally, I'm going to put you in the king's court. Okay, this is this really stupid, elaborate question where you have to pick between every
King of Slings Court.
You have to pick between every king that I could think of, and what's your favorite one? Okay, and these kings are as follows: Albert King, BB King, Freddie King, Ed King, Earl King, Carol King, or King's X.
Ed King.
There you have it.
I'm down with Ed King, man.
But
that is tough though, because
yeah. I got to go.
You
Freddie
can't pass
King,
up
but
on all the
that's
other
just
kings,
me.
man.
You got anything you want to promote? Just the music. I'll put the links and stuff.
Yep. So you can find Graveyard BBQ on Spotify at Graveyard BBQ.
And you can also find it in the link below in the show notes. You can find on the YouTube watchers, I will link YouTube stuff to it, and on the everywhere else, I will put Spotify links as usual. So we'll definitely link that. And
also, I have a YouTube channel with it's YouTube.com Brownbag Johnson.
I'll link it.
It has all the Graveyard BBQ songs, videos, stuff aside from that, solo stuff. Basically, my whole discography of stuff.
All right.
Is there.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it. We're about out of time. Brownbag Johnson, Robert Miller, Gear and Beer Podcast.
Cheers, brother.
Check the show notes.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Gear and Beer Podcast. We would ask that you please be sure to tell your friends about the podcast. And if you haven't already, subscribe and follow our Instagram and YouTube channels, as well as liking and commenting on our posts. Are there guests you want to see on the podcast? Topics you want us to talk about, or pieces of gear? Let us know. All these kinds of things feed the algorithms in a positive way and help us gain more traction, whereby enabling us to continue to bring you ever-improving content and guests. Thanks again, Gearheads. We truly appreciate your support, and we'll see you back here soon for another episode of
Keep